got to give people big ups for coming out. My now, not contention, but my recommendation and or concern is, what do you do with that energy? It's one thing to have people come out one time. We need to direct that energy to direct action over time. And I would say the same thing about these Fight the Oligarchy rallies as well.
Oh.
That's drawing out people. That's good to draw out people then, but what's next? How do we
What's the ask?
That's it.
Well,
how do we make it actionable for the long term? And I think people coming out in different places are a reflection of, so Jen, you saw one type of crowd. You're right. Had you been in another area, you would have saw another type of crowd. And so people reflect their region and their area. And to your point, Peter, people come out for different reasons. The Democratic Party, not the people who still believe in the Democratic Party necessarily. My contention is with the leadership of the Democratic Party. There needs to be they have failed the faithful. It needs to be a full autopsy of this party. It needs to be a reckoning with this party. And I'm talking about the leadership. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the leadership now. Now, we can have a whole conversation about the people and how we have to galvanize and educate and have conversations with people so they see things differently. We have a lot of neoliberal voters because we got a lot of neoliberal leadership. You know, it's a failure of leadership. And I don't believe that the same leaders who got us in this mess should be leading now. So not only should Senator Chuck Schumer go, Representative Hakeem Jeffries should go. They all should go. Everybody on the leadership team in both the House and the Senate, y'all go bye-bye, because anytime you lose a second election to President Donald J. Trump, you lose the popular vote, you lose the Electoral College vote. Who knew? We knew. People like us knew.
No, I totally knew. I totally knew it was going to happen. It's really great. Really great.
President Trump knew. No, those people got to go. They really have to go. They are not the leadership for this moment.
No, they represent corporations. They represent capital. And that's who bought the party. That's who bought the party. And that's the problem. Like, I don't think it's redeemable. Like, I don't think it's going to get fixed from within. I don't think we can elect our way out of it. And I think that this needs to be a labor movement. This is a class war. And until there is a party that actually represents that group of people, they're going to continue to lose to the Republicans, because, as I always say, we don't need new Coke. You know what I mean? There's no point for that. So it's like, either you represent working people, or
I have to come on here and I have to say hello to my former campaign co-chair, Nina. It's lovely to see you. And maybe one of these days we'll get you out on the trail. Alex is doing a wonderful job, but I know no one can excite a crowd quite like you can. I wanted to come on here, Jen.
Nobody.
We did have a rally in California the other day. We got a lot of people out there. Well, I think you got the gist of what my message was. We have to fight for what? I don't know exactly, but we'll come up with it eventually. Just get out there, get active, get involved. That's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Can we talk about that audience for a second? Okay. That is seriously, of all the people to be talking about class war to, I don't think the crowd at Coachella is necessarily that group. Like, that to me is just sort of like, who is that? Who can afford to go to Coachella? Who are the people at Coachella? It's not working people. To me, it looks like a whole bunch of rich kids.
I would push back just slightly. I mean, maybe there's a younger generation there a lot that depend on their parents. So I get where you're coming from. But I think that is the type of message, should go a little deeper. But everybody should hear that message, because we need people who are not in the working class to give a damn too. We really do. Now, whether that's the venue to have a deep conversation, that's why it was superficial. That might not necessarily be the best place to have a deep conversation, but I want people from all economic strata to understand the challenges that we are facing, and that the ultra wealthy do better when everyday people in this country do better. That is the fact. I mean, our economy, 70% consumer-based economy. What sense does it make to trample upon poor people and working class people in this country? Obviously, for many of them, far too many of them, it makes a whole lot of sense, because all they're going to do is go to Mars or Saturn or somewhere and mess up that planet. No, let's keep the mess down here on Earth. I don't want them going around there, Jen, messing up somebody else's planet. But you see what I'm getting at. I think the message is germane for everybody. And most people are working class. Some people may be six figures working class. I have a lot of friends who started working in government at the age of 18. And, now they have amassed, working, what I would call working class millions. They are not, of the ultra wealthy, but they're comfortable, but they care. So we need people from all economic strata to actually give a damn about what is happening to the everyday people in this country. Your point is well taken. I just want to add that to that. It's always the time to talk to people about why they should care. And if you are in the upper echelons of the economic strata, you should care even more. Hence the patriotic millionaires, which I know you and Peter are familiar with. Our big ups to them for going around the country saying this ain't right and tax us because we can afford it. We want to see a better country. And if you have to live behind a gated community, not because you want to, but because you have to, because there's civil unrest everywhere, I don't think that's the kind of country you want to live in. So it behooves us to get this thing right. And people who have more leisure time because they don't have to worry about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that base need, they can do more to help turn the tide. So everybody should be concerned. But I got you, Jen. I understand where you're coming from.
I definitely agree. Being in commercial real estate, I deal with the upper echelon of society. There, tons of people that I run into that are completely indifferent, and they think it's, a conqueror's world, if you will. I'm going to get mine, and that's that. But there's enough of them that really do understand that, this is a dire situation.
It never works.
If you couldn't.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. If you're a wealthy investor, not Mr. Wexner, but if you're a wealthy investor in the state of Ohio, for example, and you own, let's say, a multifamily building in Akron, and people can't afford rent, what the hell is your investment worth? It's not worth anything. If people do not have the ability to get universal health care or a living wage, and they can't afford to pay $1,000 a month for rent in a 2-bedroom apartment, then what do you expect? How do you think you could possibly hoard all of the wealth? And the whole argument, obviously comes back to modern monetary theory and that it's not really a pie, but at the end of the day, it's the value of what you actually have. And if you don't have anything, if you have next to nothing, or you're dependent on the government because you can't afford to live otherwise, that's a broken system. It doesn't have to be that way. No. But there are way too many people that just copy the Walton family's model with Walmart and have executed it basically into almost every corner of our economic system. And at some point, you have to take a step back and say, this is unsustainable. I don't care if I have $10 million, $100 million. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be worth anything if even if I'm asset rich, which is the best rich to be if you're going to be anything. Just look at the topsy-turvy world of the stock market. I am not one who advocates for stock market investment. But if you are an investor in any way, and knowing the volatility of what we're dealing with right now, there is value without question in Bernie's message. I think that there are many layers to it, especially his opinion when it comes to Israel and Gaza. But if we're only talking specifically about why are he and Alex out there right now doing what they're doing, I don't begrudge them for being there because there's a lot of people that are scared. They don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. And naturally, when Trump will do, as he often does, shoots from the hip when it comes to economic and political policy, the people who will suffer first are always the people who are struggling the most to survive. And so I get that there are tens of thousands of people in Los Angeles and Salt Lake City and the like that want to hear him and hear her espouse this message of, we're not giving up on the system. We're not just going to let it fall apart. My question to you is, what is the point of this? What is their goal? I know you probably still talk to him. I'm sure you talk to her. And whatever information can be revealed, I think people want to hear this because they're giving a message of, we are going to fight the oligarchy. Yeah, I get it, Bernie. That's great. But if we're not fighting the oligarchy, for example, within the Democratic Party that trades on inside information just as much, if not more, than the Republican Party does, then we are arguing over nothing. We're arguing over the fact that the system's broken, but we're not doing anything to fix it. So what do you want to see and what should we see and what should their message be ultimately in terms of how we go forward?
Yeah, I mean, motivating the choir is a beautiful thing. I mean, most of the people out there are nostalgic for Sanders' presidential run 2016 and 2020. Those are his people mainly. Let's make no mistake about it. He may have other folks tagging along, but those are his people. And when I look at these rallies, it makes me think about 2016 and 2020. And the three of us know what happened there. The neoliberals thwarted his very real chance of winning in both 2016 and also in 2020. They are responsible for Trump 2.0. This just did not happen during the 2024 election cycle. It's not just because we didn't have a robust primary. Hello, somebody, in 2023. I'm gonna put that in the parking lot. This goes way back to 2015, actually. So what I would like to see, fine, motivate people, get them out. All of that stuff is grand. I want to see what we're going to do with them after that, after the cell phone lights are off, after the crowds are gone. What are we instructing them to do? I'm working on, with my organization, the resurrection of the freedom budget for all Americans as envisioned by Asa Philip Randolph, one of the best labor organizers of the 20th century, Bayard Rustin, one of the brainiacs behind the civil rights movement itself, and also the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Jen and Peter, what they laid out in the late 60s, it was 1966, is a full-fledged plan to eradicate poverty in the United States of America in 10 years. It was what we would call a SMART goal before SMART goals even existed. And really, Asa Philip Randolph, one of the architects, his vision was based on the four freedoms of FDR. He pulled out the freedom from want. And what they said very clearly, they didn't say it this way, but we're a hegemonic nation. We have failed if people live in poverty. There's no reason for people to live in poverty because we are a hegemonic nation. So we ought to do something about it. We need to call on the forces of the political class to do something about it. And they assembled people from all walks of life, all the pillars of society, from religious to civic based. Over 150 people of high note signed on to this. And it was very clear that they didn't agree on every little thing. But as progressives in the 21st century, which I don't even use that word that much anymore, I'm a liberator, because people have glommed on to progressive and it don't mean a damn thing to them. I am a liberator. But back to the freedom budget, guaranteed income. They were talking about that in the late 60s. A lot of the stuff that progressives think is new and hip and only started with Senator Sanders has been out there for a very long time. I do believe that the liberation struggle for all everyday working class people, oppressed peoples, stream through the Black liberation, because Black folks and their liberation, or our liberation journey, steeped in the type of dehumanization and bigotry, not just chattel slavery, but Jim and Jane Crow, sundown towns, red line. I mean, you name it. It is through that kind of suffering and what the African-American community has been able to accomplish, and the resiliency under such pressure of that community is the key. And so the architects understood that all people, of all working class people, all poor people, had to be in it. So guaranteed income, Medicare for all, farm parity, making sure that we take care of people who cannot work, all the things that we agree on. Now we can put some 21st century on it, which we have put in there more, less, no spending on war. Let's bring that stuff back here. Anti-war, pro-peace, more stuff about the environment, taking up some of the 21st century fights that they may not have thought about in the 20th century. But when I tell you it is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant plan, we need people to take up that plan, the freedom budget for all Americans. So, Peter, that was a long way for me to say, I got the rallies, love the rallies, reminds me of 2016, 2020, but we need action after this. We got to organize people and galvanize them towards a thing. It's one thing to fight against neoliberalism. We got to fight for something, and that is missing for the Democratic Party in particular. That fight has to animate the masses of the people in this country who have been left behind. The Democratic Party failed. They need new leadership. They need an autopsy, and they need to apologize to the American people for losing.